What up, people? It's your boy Chig, and you are through to Chig Flicks. I know it's been a while, right? It's literally been 2 months since I did my last anything on this channel. My apologies. Just been going through a lot of different changes and personal circumstances. Things I've actually explained on my Unit Eagle Eye channel. So if you want to check out the show I did yesterday, I go into a 20-minute diatribe as to what has happened. But I'm back. Glad to see my last review on here did so well. So I'm definitely going to keep doing those. But anyway, I digress. I'm on here to review the latest season of Cobra Kai. Now, if you're probably sat there thinking to yourself, if this is the first time you've heard me talk about Cobra Kai, you probably sat there thinking, this ain't the type of show Trigger likes. And normally you would be spot on. Normally you'd be absolutely spot on. This is not the type of show that I go for, that I like. This is like, Chig, what am I doing? What am I saying? I was never, I like Karate Kid like most 80s babies. Obviously, I was born 85. Fun fact, as I record this, it is my birthday. Hey! So there you go, 36 years old. And, of course, Karate Kid came out the year before I was born, in 84. I watched number 2, I watched number 3. Never bothered watching the next Karate Kid. Never bothered watching it. I heard it's not as bad as I might think it would be. So I've got to go and check that out. And, I was always a fan of it. But then I saw Cobra Kai being advertised on YouTube Red, as it was called at the time. And I never really thought anything of it. And then I thought to myself, it was literally just on by chance. It happened to move Cobra Kai onto Netflix, and I was just bored that day. And man, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the energy of it. I loved the execution of it. I loved the acting of it. I loved the enthusiasm. I loved the writing. I loved how self-aware it was without going too cheesy with it. And actually, and that was just off the back of season 1. I thought season 2, it escalated it. It took everything that was good about season 1, improved it. There was a little bit more development. And what I liked about it was, if Karate Kid was Daniel LaRusso's story, then Cobra Kai is very much Johnny Lawrence's story, and seeing what happened to Johnny Lawrence after that tournament. And it was really good. It was really intriguing to find out, the two story arcs. And by the end of a very explosive season 2 finale, one of the best season finales to anything I've ever seen. Just kudos to everybody that was in that effort and was in the efforts of that last episode, because that must have taken a long fucking time to film, and B, a long time to kind of organize and get through, because it was a lot of effort, and it looked fantastic on the camera. So after an explosive season 2, we see a lot of the main guys, and by the way, I'm gonna try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible. But where I feel like I might go a bit near, I'll give you guys a warning, just so you guys know. But so yeah, I think after a very explosive season 2, a lot of the main characters are in a really bad place. You see, just no one really is in a good place, apart from, funny enough, spoiler alert, John Cleese, is that his name? The villain from Karate Kid, who's the sensei from Karate Kid. He's the only one that's really come out on top. He's basically stolen Johnny's business, stolen Johnny's kids, and he's the only one that looks like he's in any sort of fortunate position. everyone else is suffering in some kind of way. Um, Fast forward to season three. Season three, I think there was this feeling that in the lead up to this that there might be some sort of time jump. I'm glad there wasn't actually. I wanted to see from the get go what sort of where we were with these guys. The time jump, if anything, it was maybe 2 weeks after the incident, a couple of weeks after the incident. Everyone's dealing with stuff. Miguel is still in his coma. Um, lot, really not much hope in terms of he's been in a coma for 2 weeks. Like, in fact, at some point, there was one character that said, "There's been in, he's been in a coma for 2 weeks. Generally, when that happens, the coma wins." And it was kind of like a really profound thing to say. Like, yeah, I suppose very rarely do you hear about someone that's come out of a coma for longer than a certain period of time and been okay. So it was. I remember thinking that at the time, thinking that's just a really profound moment. But it added that kind of realism to it. The writers are very, very clever when they do things like this. Makes you think. And it was we see Miguel is still in a coma. Johnny Lawrence is in a complete rut at this moment in time, just head, tail spinning everywhere. And I think what we get to see is we get to see a number of things. Spoiler alert, I might as well just say that now. There were rumors that we might see a Johnny Lawrence, Daniel LaRusso team up. That happens quite early on in the season, where they obviously set out looking for Robbie. Robbie at this point is MIA. He's obviously just kicked Miguel off school steps, and he's gone MIA. We learn about the kids. We learn certain fates about the kids. So Tori, who started the whole fight in the first place, has been expelled from school, but her herself is in a lot of problems, and I'll come back to Tori in a second. We see that Samantha, who's probably, let's be real, the main reason of all these damn problems. I don't go down. She's mainly the cause of all these damn problems. In her case, she's been suspended from school. I liked what they tried to do with her story, even though I'm not sure how realistic it would be per se. But they basically tried to give her a story arc where she basically had PSD, where she almost became terrified of Tori. And the thought of facing her just used to make her feel sick and made her freeze and stuff. So I thought that was, I suppose, an interesting slant that they put on her story. Throughout, she was very much the kind of driving force of, right, we need to get back at these guys. We need to get back at these guys. Until anything even close to Tori, whenever anything even used to mention Tori, would just make her freeze on the spot. In fact, there was one moment where she literally froze instead of helping her friend prevent their arm from being broken. So, Tori herself, she's been expelled of school. She now has 2 jobs. Her mum is very, very ill. We learn that she's falling behind in the rent. And we also learn that she has a bit of a kind of sleazy landlord who basically says, listen, either you get me more money or we can find another way of paying. Keep in mind, this bitch is supposed to be a school girl, supposed to be 17. It's like, oh, okay. But that eventually kind of resolves itself. I won't spoil how that resolves itself. But again, fairly early on in the season, we see a very big character development for Hawk. Very, very big, in the sense that very early on, his position is challenged, if you like, from John, and he very much is asked the question of, you're my guy, you should be able to handle this. Johnny Lawrence basically tries to convince Hawk that that their sensei doesn't care about them as individuals. That all he cares about is waging this war against anybody, and he will use anyone to get what he wants. Um, so that constantly plays in Hawk's mind, like, does this guy actually care about me or not? And the very first opportunity um, the sensei John brings back that Asian brother who bullied Hawk in the first season with his lip. Where he brought him in, and he joined Cobra Kai, and obviously that kind of unsettles Hawk because obviously this was someone who used to bully him. Hawk on a couple of occasions, funny enough, is tested by him, but he reasserts himself as the top Cobra Kai guy. But it was a kind of a nice moment because although at the time I must admit when I watched Hawk flip to the other side, I thought to myself, "Oh, that seems a bit sudden." But actually, when you replay the sort of things that happened during the season, you can see why he kind of changed his mind. There was a moment which I think affected Hawk, where you heard me mention the fact that Samantha watched Dimitri's arm be broken and couldn't save him. Well, it was Hawk that did it to him, and Hawk took ages about it. Like he really did not want to do it. Like he really, really hesitated to the point where Tori even said, "I didn't think you were actually going to do it," because he really, really hesitated. And he eventually just snapped my man's arm. So I think that kind of changed him. Like, what the fuck am I turning into? Like, like I'm just breaking motherfuckers' arms for no reason. So there was a nice moment. I won't spoil it, where Hawk eventually flips, and even I was like, "Go on, save your boy." It was a nice moment, I must admit, and that was during the end fight of season 3. Yes, another big fight in season 3, which is a madness. Not as mad as the school one, but it's still quite a madness. And yeah, it's interesting because by the time there's lots of character development here. By the way, even for Daniel LaRusso, there's a lot of character development there, whereby in his particular case, he goes to Okinawa, which is the stage of Karate Kid 2. Runs into Chosen, who Chosen is let's just say, a very different man to the one that threatened his life. Yes, that whole storyline was very interesting, and watching how that developed. And he needed it. And actually, what I liked about it wasn't just the fact that, oh, let me decide to go to Okinawa because that's where Karate Kid 2 was. There was a legitimate reason why Daniel had to be in that part of the country. And then once he was in that part of the country, he decided to stop over at Okinawa just because he, even as a viewer, you can tell he needed it. He needed something. He needed some kind of guidance. He needed something to just bring him back to the straight and narrow. And I liked it. You saw a lot more Daniel time in this particular season for sure. It depends whether you're a Daniel LaRusso fan. I don't particularly mind him. I know that I've seen people complain because this is supposed to be the Johnny Lawrence story. Do we need to see more Daniel LaRusso? He's had 3 films for that. But I didn't mind. For me, I was fine with it. It is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. So yeah, it was very much, especially that because that was about an episode and a bit to get through that Okinawa stuff. So I think people were not complaining, but they mentioned it. But it is what it is. I think it was fine, and it was necessary to see that development arc in Daniel's story and just the way he was thinking. They brought back Ali as well. I thought Ali was going to be. I'm gonna lie, I was probably the only one that weren't looking forward to that because I thought she was going to be a big distraction from the real action and that. But actually, that was really good for Johnny Lawrence's arc. Um, it taught him something about himself, about not living in the past. Living for himself, living for the future, living for the present. And I think that was a really good development piece from the writers as well. It seemed a bit rushed, but I think it was. I think it was necessary in the end. Um, and then we get to the end part, which I won't ruin, but you kind of see it. The whole thing kind of essentially builds to a Kreese versus LaRusso versus Lawrence fight, and it's a good fight. It is a good fight, and yeah, it sets up season 4 beautifully. I watched this season twice, really enjoyed it. The only thing I think I don't like about Cobra Kai is I've decided I'm not a Robbie fan. I'm not a Robbie fan. Don't think he's the strongest actor either. But other than that, I loved everything about it. I think for me, I actually thought it was the best season. Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. So it can only go down from here, really. But no, I really enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed it. For me, if you've not watched Cobra Kai, right, you need to have a very open mind. So make sure you have an open mind. Don't go into it cynically. Don't go into it with any preconceived ideas. It may help if you watch Karate 1, 2, and 3, but you don't necessarily have to. But it would help. And yeah, let's just go from there and see what happens. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. Apologies it's taken so long to get this done and over to you. And hopefully I will be back probably Saturday to do a couple more reviews. Because I've been watching Netflix like non-stop. And let's face it, we're on lockdown, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are just watching lots of Netflix and stuff at the moment. So hopefully I can help you. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Take care. Enjoy yourself.